From the playoff round, aka round of 16 part 1, to the round of 16, aka round of 16 part 2, we have everything from a local derby to a clash of the top teams from the Bundesliga, a rematch of one of the most entertaining matches during the league phase. I mean, we've got it all. So let's look at the bracket and get to the previews, my friend. And so now we know the path to the final for each and every team in the competition. It's locked in. After last Friday's draw, you can see that PSV will be taking on Arsenal. Not a walk in the park there, is it? Real Madrid will take on Atleti. Big matchup. The winners of these two matchups will face each other in the quarters. Now, the winners of PSG and Liverpool will take on the winners of Club Brugge and Aston Villa. On the other side, you can see that Benfica and Barcelona get a nice rematch after that 5-4 match that they had in the league phase. The winner of that will take on the winner of Borussia Dortmund versus Lille. And finally, a big one between Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen. We'll see if Bayern can improve their expected goals from 0.05 to 0.06 in this one. And the winner will take on the winner between Feyenoord and Inter Milan. All right, so let's get cooking with the previews here, guys. And I know I sometimes serve up putrid slop with some of my predictions. I know that predictions are hard because so many things can happen, like Theo Hernandez getting a red card for diving, right? So I do serve up some putrid slop, but I don't serve up putrid slop in the kitchen. Now me, I love whipping up things in the kitchen, but thinking of what to have every night is my least favorite part of it all. But thanks to our sponsors for this video, HelloFresh, I don't have to do that anymore. And honestly, I've tried a few different food services like this, and so far I have not tasted anything better than this kafta sheet pan dish with lemony orzo and a hummus sauce. Absolute chef's kiss, easy to make, just 30 minutes of my time. Come on. Delicious, nutritious, and incredibly convenient. I mean, the box just shows up at your door, which is great for someone like me who works from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or later every day. Plus, they have a huge roster of different meals, 50 plus dinner ideas weekly, even vegetarian options, and you can customize certain recipes by swapping out proteins to your liking. So don't let recipe boredom and a lack of inspiration destroy your health and meal satisfaction goals. No putrid slop, like I said. So give it a try, click the link in the description, or use my QR code and get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. If you're in the US, outside the US, the local discount will apply. Subscribing gets you great food, and you also help out my channel greatly, one step closer to getting an editor so I can devote more time to producing more content for you guys. So thank you, HelloFresh, and bon appetit, fellas. Given how things have progressed this season with Real Madrid TV turning into Real Madrid Referee Watch, and how the two clubs have traded comments about officiating and press conferences, etc., this is tasty. And hey, Real will get what they wanted, foreign referees for a matchup with a La Liga opponent. It's not in La Liga, but it's something, right? We'll get to see if that's the difference maker for Real, as they seem to allude to. And to be fair to them, I am joking around here, as I always do, and people take me seriously and get mad at me. That's just how it goes on the internet. But they, of course, have had some crap calls go against them this season. Of course they have. We're just joking around, man. So anyway, Atleti, of course, finished in the top 8 of the league phase, so a playoff was not required from them. They had the benefit of not having midweek matches for a couple of weeks, which is huge. But to be honest, since bringing in a new fitness trainer, their total amount of injuries has gone way down. For the majority of this season, Simeone has had a full squad to choose from, everybody healthy for the most part. But man, Atleti's schedule for the next month or so is pretty insane, as they'll play in this order: Valencia, Barcelona, Athletic Club, Real Madrid, Getafe, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Espanyol, and Barcelona. In the next month, they will play both Real Madrid and Barcelona a couple of times. You can understand why they tweeted this out, right? On Ancelotti's side, a clean bill of health couldn't be further from the truth. Tons of injuries, as well as Bellingham now suspended for the first leg against Atleti for yellow card accumulation in the Champions League. However, one massive boon for Real Madrid lately has actually been Valverde's performances in the right back position, which really came to the fore against Manchester City. Not sure if you guys saw it, but I did a video recently with Kian Sobani from Managing Madrid on why the attack hadn't really been clicking for Real up to that point, which was a few weeks ago. And he made note of how Real Madrid had previously had such great attacking fullbacks throughout their history, how it was key to their success, and with Carvajal injured, they didn't really have any good ones. But the way that Valverde has played, while there could be moments where he is caught out, as we saw in the first leg against Manchester City, the value he adds to this attack with his through balls to launch counters, as well as his whipped crosses in the box that curl behind the back line for Mbappe and co to get on the end of, really impressive from him, because he's a really impressive player, but you get me. Now, Real Madrid have struggled a bit lately when playing away to Atletico after losing 2 in a row. They grabbed a draw at the Metropolitano at the end of September, but Simeone has made the Metropolitano a fortress for the most part once again, only losing to Lille at home this season. Funnily enough, Lille also defeated Real Madrid, but that was in France. Both matches this season between the two ended with a 1-1 draw, and it will be just as tight in this matchup. And guys, 2 things can be true. Man City can be really crap defensively, and Kylian Mbappe can be finding form as well, which is absolutely true, as he looked great playing through the middle against City, even favoring the right side more than the left, combining well with Rodrigo. And for me, Mbappe's form will be the difference maker in this tie. Atleti will defend way better than other opponents that Real have faced. But given Atleti haven't won away to Real Madrid since 2016, I think that first leg at the Bernabeu will be the difference maker, with Real getting a 2-goal lead that Atleti won't be able to turn around in the second leg, with Bellingham coming back as well. Arsenal and PSV are relatively familiar with each other, as they shared a group last season in that old format of the Champions League. Arsenal won the first one 4-0 at the Emirates, then drew 1-1 away. If I remember correctly, that match was a bit of a dead rubber, as both sides knew they were already through to the round of 16, I believe. This season, PSV required a playoff to get to this point, where they lost 2-1 in Turin before turning things around and winning 3-1 at the Philipsstadion in Eindhoven. Lovely performance from them. Juve were chasing shadows at times. Definitely some injury issues in defense, for sure, but PSV were fantastic. Namely, Ivan Perisic, who is looking like he's 36 going on 25. Respect to Ivan, man. No, he may not be as explosive physically, but he's not slow, and the touch hasn't left him at all. Twice he scored against Juventus and played a big role in another goal also in that second leg. PSV's form took a wobble. They're no longer top of the Eredivisie, but they're still a very talented side that has a nice mix of young talent. Noah Lang, Ryan Flamingo, Bakayoko, Ismail Sabiri, etc. And then some older players to guide them, like Luke de Jong and Perisic in particular. Arsenal, on the other hand, are still without Bukayo Saka and likely won't have him back for PSV. We don't know for sure though, but have a young phenom of their own, someone I look to as a potential world beater, Ethan Nwaneri. They may have Martinelli back, but we'll see. Tomiyasu is out, Gabriel Jesus out, Havertz out. Ben White is back, which is huge. He's been gone since November. Arsenal were perfect at home in the Champions League, winning all 4 matches against PSG, Shakhtar, Monaco, and Dinamo Zagreb. Didn't concede a single goal either, but their away form continues to be where they slip at times, both this season and last, you'll remember. They lost away to Inter, no real shame there, and could only manage a draw against Atalanta, but of course defeated Sporting and Girona away. Now, given the shared history between these two, as well as the overall performances this season, I think Arsenal will take this one, but I don't see a blowout given Arsenal don't have a striker in their team. PSV have seen their form shake, and they had 2 extra matches on their calendar as well, and I think that will be the difference for them. Arsenal to secure it in the second leg at home. This PSG doesn't feel like the PSG of old, nor the PSG from earlier this season. No big stars that overshadow everyone else, no players on the pitch that won't help out defensively, a young, talented squad that is really starting to come together and become a strong, competent sporting project. A nightmare to play against. Liverpool are still getting results, but they are showing signs of perhaps fatigue physically. Not to mention the defense isn't airtight at the moment. Liverpool have been conceding a lot more lately. 2 against Everton, 1 against Wolves, 2 against Villa, 1 against Plymouth, 3 against PSV, though they rotated in that match a ton. Now, compared to how they started this season, the defense has regressed ever so slightly. That's the point I'm trying to make here. The important thing with Liverpool, however, is that they are still getting results. Sure, they had a moment with just 2 wins in their last 5, but that match against Manchester City this past weekend felt like a bounce back match. Though, to be fair, everyone is getting their licks in on City these days, so it's hard to read into that one too much. but they still looked very good. PSG, on the other hand, are cruising in Ligue 1, shocking stuff. Water is wet, right? But have also turned things around in the Champions League after they had, in my opinion, the hardest set of fixtures in the entire competition. While this new team was still gelling and adjusting to life without Mbappe, they had to play Girona, okay, whatever, Arsenal, PSV, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, Salzburg, who are very easy, Man City, who they beat 4-2 after being 2-0 down, you'll remember, and Stuttgart, a tricky side. Then they defeated Stade Brestois 10-0 on aggregate in the playoff. Massive, but also a team they always beat up on, right? PSG's attack of Dembele, Barcola, and Kvaratskhelia is becoming a big problem with Desiree Doué off the bench or in the midfield alongside João Neves and Vitinha. Where Liverpool can cause big issues is the pressing of the backline, especially Donnarumma when he's on the ball, who is prone to make some mistakes when pressed. This will be really, really fun viewing, and it could go either way. Will PSG revert to their type of crumbling in Europe, or did their comeback against City show that they're changing their mentality, their resolve a bit? So despite PSG surging and finally heading in the right direction, it feels like, I think that Liverpool is just out of reach for them. So I have Liverpool going through uncomfortably at times, but through all the same. But next season, man, watch out for this PSG side. I feel like we've been saying that for a long time, but you get me. This is probably the matchup that people are looking to the least, but I have some high hopes that the same thing that I said in the last round may come true. My hopes were that Atalanta and Club Brugge would be the one matchup that people weren't looking to, but would deliver on entertainment, and hopefully the same rings true here. Again, I gotta say, Club Brugge is very, very impressive to me. They are excellent at defending, and they have an explosive, efficient counterattack of Zolis, Jutkla, and Talbi, which has burned plenty of teams. They were very fortunate in the first leg against Atalanta, in which they were gifted a penalty that only the gods know why it was given. But there was no luck in their second leg win away to Atalanta, 3-0 up by the half. Excellent defending in the second half, including Simon Mignolet, who not only had that nice penalty save, but a few other saves as well. And the defending was heroic. Aston Villa did well to make the top 8. Fantastic from them in the Champions League, including a nice win over Bayern Munich. Man, Bayern were really smelly playing away. We'll get to that later though. They lost 2 matches away, one of which was actually against Club Brugge. Wow, a Hans Van Aken penalty being Villa's downfall there. Recently, Villa's domestic form has been a bit patchy. Drew with Ipswich, despite Ipswich being a man down from the 40th minute onward. They drew Liverpool, that's good, but they also lost to Wolves. It makes it difficult to read Villa, who aren't as strong this year as they were last, and their January market speaks to that also, as they brought in Asensio, Rashford, Disasi, Garcia, and Malin, though Garcia and Malin didn't make their Champions League squad. Villa also did defeat Chelsea, but everyone's kind of doing that lately, so again, hard to read. They have retooled greatly, but I do think this Club Brugge side could be the Cinderella story of this edition, so I see them moving on to face the winner of Liverpool and PSG. I just find that they have proven to be so good at defending deep and then exploding into the attack, and they've already shown this season that once they get on a roll, they are hard to be stopped. 20 matches unbeaten, including a win over Aston Villa in the Champions League, so I see them doing it again. A rematch after that 5-4 spectacle from the league phase that all neutrals will have loved, and honestly, after the sting of losing after Benfica threw that a bit and had a couple of calls go against them, after the sting of that, I can see that match for what it was, pure enjoyable chaos, which sometimes it's just fun to watch a match riddled with chaos, a match riddled with mistakes, you know? It's like the junk food of the football world. Hopefully we get more junk food then. Barcelona did extremely well in this competition, finishing second only to Liverpool and scoring more goals than any other team by a long shot. They scored 6 more than the second highest scorers, Borussia Dortmund. And they also conceded more than any other side in the top 16 during the league phase, and that's been a good summation of them this season, really. A wicked attack with the likes of Lamine Yamal, Lewandowski, and Rafinha, especially Rafinha, but a defense that will give up chances. Benfica's campaign has been, honestly, similar, but I guess to a lesser degree. Our attack is really starting to come alive, and a big contributor to that is the form of Vangelis Pavlidis. The Greek striker had a really slow start to life at Benfica. He was getting flop accusations from some, but he has quickly become one of, if not our top performer in the last month or so. Lewandowski, he's still as potent as ever, 9 goals in the last 10 matches now. I don't think either side will have difficulty scoring goals. That's what I'm getting at. It's the defense that will let each side down most likely, and the midfield will be a key battle zone. Benfica has a ton of injuries. Ba, our right back, Manu Silva, Thiago Gouveia, Angel Di Maria, Renato Sanchez, but chief among them, Florentino. I mean, we have injuries in the middle. Kokshu had some, Orsnes had some. They're sort of the edge of health at the moment, but without Florentino to protect that back line, we just look so susceptible to conceding, so we need him in there. On the other side, Barcelona have a Pedri who is playing out of his mind this season. One of the most enjoyable players to watch on the pitch, as that midfield three of Gavi, De Jong, and Pedri is looking better and better together. And like I said, I think there will be goals in this. Two of the top scorers of this competition who have imperfect defenses. Do I think it will be as wild as the last meeting? Probably not. But I think that Benfica's question marks in the midfield will lead to shaky defense, which will ultimately be the difference maker and see Barcelona go through. But damn it, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope Benfica comes through. Please, guys. Please. So the winner of Benfica versus Barcelona will take on the winner of Borussia Dortmund versus Lille. Lille were a pretty fun team in the league phase and surprised everyone by finishing so high up in the table thanks to wins over the likes of Real Madrid. How about that? Atletico Madrid. A draw with Juve. A narrow loss to Liverpool. A trouncing of Feyenoord. That saw them finish level on points with Leverkusen and Villa for a top 8 finish. Borussia Dortmund was in the top 8 for a long time during the league phase, as even though their Bundesliga form has been vomit-inducing for Dortmund supporters most of the time, these guys are in 10th. However, they did get a big win in the Bundesliga this past weekend as they smashed Union Berlin 6-0. 6-0 from Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga, so there could be signs of improvement under Niko Kovac now. There were moments in this campaign where Lille looked quite decent. They looked very dangerous in the attack of Jonathan David, Salraoui, good old Cabella, rolling back the years, Goodmanson adding some value off of the bench, Zegrova being a headache at times, but they have lately seen their form go completely sour under Bruno Genesio. They had a period of time where they were unbeaten in 21 matches, but have since won 3 and lost 4 matches, even crashing out of the cup against Ligue 2 side Dunkirk, which is Christopher Nolan's team. But Dortmund's Bundesliga form is smelly and improving. They can build on that Union Berlin result, but there's something about this team in the European competitions especially where they tend to find a way no matter their domestic form. That, coupled with Niko Kovac's pragmatic way of playing, improvements in results lately, they could be tailored to knock out football. So I think with Dortmund's counter-attacking capabilities thanks to Gittins and Adeyemi on the wings, plus the fantastic, unbelievable form of Serhou Guirassy right now, 4 goals scored this past weekend, I think they will just find a way to overcome Lille and advance. From one German club to another, to 2 others actually, as we see Bayern taking on Bayer Leverkusen, a matchup that we saw very, very, very recently in the Bundesliga. And if you were a Bayern supporter, it was far, far, far from a spectacle for you. But as far as this competition goes, Bayer Leverkusen managed to finish in 6th in the league phase despite getting absolutely smoked 4-0 by Liverpool. That was a weird one. And also losing to Atletico 2-1. However, I will say that since then, Leverkusen's form has been quite solid, winning 4 and drawing 3 across all competitions. Of course, one of those draws was when they played against a Bayern who had all 11 players standing on the goal line for 90 minutes. Bayern made their way through Celtic. They of course required a 94th minute winner to be bundled over the line after Celtic had some really, really dangerous opportunities in that match at the Allianz Arena. To be honest with you though, even if it had gone to extra time, never say never of course, but I feel as though there was only so long that Celtic could have held on there and Bayern would have pulled through anyway. But you never know, right? Bayern has been a bit of a weird team this season under Vincent Kompany, as they have moments where they look good, where they look like they're starting to put the pieces together. They're still rolling on in the Bundesliga, but then they put in some absolutely wretched performances against any kind of team that has any quality to them. For example, in the Champions League, of the tricky teams they played, they beat Benfica and PSG. They always beat Benfica, and PSG was in poor form at the time. But up against Barcelona, Feyenoord, and Villa, they lost 4-1, 3-0, and 1-0 respectively. All away matches, so take from that what you will. But they did absolutely trash Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga this weekend, so they are still capable of great performances when things are all going right. But they are inconsistent, especially against big teams. Bayer Leverkusen, as alluded to, are beginning to catch fire again. They don't quite have that final minutes hijinks from last season where they turned draws to wins and losses into wins as well somehow in the final minutes. That's been the difference in their results, but their overall play is still very good. They haven't lost domestically since August 31st, so keep that in mind. They're undefeated against Bayern this season, 2 draws in the Bundesliga, and they actually beat them in the Pokal. Bayern has had a few key injuries this season, namely Alphonso Davies and Palhinha, which has inhibited Kompany a bit, but the biggest inhibitor to success for them has been their center backs, where Kim and Upamecano, or Oops Amecano as I call him, always seem to have an error in them. It seems as though Xabi has Kompany's number, and in general, in every big match Bayern have played in, their results have been fairly damning. They're doing their job against the teams they should be walking past, for sure, but struggle against quality opposition, it seems. For that reason, at this point in Kompany's tenure, I don't think that they have what it takes to get past Bayer Leverkusen. So I'll go with Leverkusen here. And finally, Feyenoord taking on Inter Milan. They go from Milan club to Milan club, eh? Feyenoord has been a strange club, as in a similar sort of vein to what's been going on with Borussia Dortmund, where their European form belies their pretty bad domestic form. Feyenoord have served up some big results in the Champions League, not only sending AC Milan packing, but their comeback against Manchester City, in which they were 3-0 down by the 53rd minute, but scored 3 times in the final 15 minutes to tie it up. Then they also defeated Bayern 3-0, but also lost to Salzburg, who were one of the worst teams in the Champions League, lost to Lille 6-1, though they were missing a ton of players and still are missing a ton of players. So Feyenoord is kind of everywhere. Now, they do have a new head coach in Robin van Persie, who was brought in from Heerenveen. He's getting thrown in at the deep end in some respects, having to play against an Inter side that was 4th in the Champions League and conceded just 1 goal in 8 league phase matches. That's crazy. The other side of that, though, is that they also scored only 11 goals, the lowest of any of the teams in the top 24, except for Club Brugge and Juve. The other bit that will give Van Persie some optimism is that Inter have been conceding more goals in Serie A this season than last. Twice as much, actually, as Inter had only conceded 12 goals by this point last season. They've already conceded 24 in Serie A this season. So while their European record, defensive record that is, was very good, there is absolutely a chance to score against them given their recent run of results. Still, it's not much of a look in, as even though their own incredibly high defensive standards have dropped a bit this season, they still have one of the best defensive records in Europe, right? Recent losses against Juve and a heavy 3-0 against Fiorentina, again, will bring Feyenoord some optimism. But all of this considered, this is still an Inter side that is a cup competition nightmare to play against, which has been one of Inzaghi's specialties. And so Feyenoord will hope that the 2 crunch matches that Inter has domestically will distract them from the first leg in the Champions League. Inter play Lazio in the Coppa Italia and a top of the table clash with Napoli next weekend. But still, I believe Inter will find their form again and overcome Feyenoord. So yes, guys, I'm looking forward to the round of 16. Should be a great group of matches, tons of quality sides, room for upsets, should be fun. This is an incredibly long video, so let's say our goodbyes. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Adrian, and I'll catch you soon in another video. Take care.